Good morning, and or good afternoon, or good evening, or good tomorrow, depending where you are in the world. And welcome to Cichlids and Coffee. Oh yeah. So we got more folks getting on here, and hey, Angelo. Good afternoon to you. I guess that's right. It just turned noon over in New Jersey. Hey, Mary Page Flynn is here. Hi, Mary Page. John Wallace, one of my moderators, along with Denny and GP and KG Cichlids. Hey, Kevin, good to see you, buddy. And you got my message for your daughter. Happy birthday to her. And hey, Cat Sailor. Elizabeth Wagner. Hey, Elizabeth, nice to see you here. And S. Sai Sundar. I'll consider that. I'll consider, but it's this time slot's been working out really well for me, so maybe I'll do a little survey on it. But I get it. That is late in India, and Jeff Hester. Yes, that is pretty squishy. Oh, Fishy Dior. Hey, is that a fashion fish? Is that a Fishy Dior? All right. Hey, R. Baglio is here, and Z-Zip, and Jenny Delgado. We got some great people on this stream. Raul Sanchez, Patrick Maloney, Peas and Haps Forever. A lot of good folks. Luis Ferreira, Fishman Marcus is in the house. Tyler McIlhenny, and I hate to butcher that name. It's such a nice name. Whiskey in the Six. Hey, buddy. Yeah, we got to get together about that possible collab. Billy D. and Brian Hahn is here. Hey, Brian. And I'm sick, kid. Cichlids behind you and coffee in hand. Is there a better world to be in right now? Outside of this garage, it's covered in snow. We had beautiful spring conditions, and now it's we had a storm last night, and we got some snow, and it's pretty. It's very pretty. Have everything white out there. The subdivision I live in, it's sort of very hilly, and so when it gets snow and the roads get icy, you pretty much are stuck. You really don't want to. You not only you can't go anywhere, but you really don't want to go anywhere. I mean, you'll just start sliding basically, and unless you have the right kind of tires. And what you'd have to do is have those special tires for about 300 yards until you got to the road that they actually maintain, and then you'd have to have like regular tires. But at any rate, so we're sort of snowed in, but anyway, yeah. Hey, Vibes, yeah, this is the shirt that was being given away by Corey and Zenzo and the team over there at the co-op over at the Aquashella. You can see it. Got Murphy on there. I love Murphy. And the only problem with it is the light color. Light colors are not great for live streaming because they do sort of impact the exposure. You know how much the way the light works, and all. But you can correct for that. And light colors also. It's just a matter of time before I get some barbecue sauce on it. So, all right. So, yes, Brent, nice eye biter. Yeah, he likes to stare at me during the live streams. He just sits right there and looks at me throughout the whole live stream. It's kind of funny. Everybody else just kind of cruises around or thinks I'm going to give them food. They've already been fed today. And hey, Tree 77 over in Delaware. Glad you're here. Kajal Kumar Panhare want to discuss about how to keep only hap tank and manage aggression. I have lots of videos about that. I have a whole playlist called Cichlid Aggression, and if one of the moderators can share that playlist on cichlid aggression, and it's always a topic, and it'll be a topic today for sure. and that I'll be getting into. Hey, Brandon, the blind fish keeper, and the irony of him watching people aquascape in the with blindfolds on over at Aquashella. I thought that was just sort of an ironic sort of setup there. And Brandon, it was great spending some time with you, and a big shout out to Jerry, who actually helped Brandon get around Aquashella. Our own Jerry Martin. That's a good guy right there. Dan Cote is here. T1 Dirty. T1 Dirty is here. Rahuel Sanchez. Let's see here. Mount Olive, Dan Cote, John Frederick Navarro from Montreal. Hello, Frederick. We have a great crowd today. My goodness, it just keeps growing. And I love that name. I'm sick, kid. Oh, yes, you can. I'm sick, kid. You can see particles floating in the tank as part of the bloom. And there are different schools of thought on that. Some people just like to let it run its course because it will eventually settle down. Other people like to get it cleared up right away with things like adding floss to filters, chemical filtration, such as activated carbon, Purigen, Seachem Purigen, and ChemiPure, products like that. There's a product called Clarity that you can use. There's a variety of products you can use that will attach to those particles and make them a bit more substantive, a bit bigger, so that the filter can grab them. And many of them are just are all natural, and so they don't harm the tank at all. But some people just let it run its course and see it as a good sign that the tank is actually cycling. Now, one thing to look for, and I learned this lesson the hard way, is if you ever do any major work on your tank, swap out the substrate, move around a bunch of decor, do work on a lot of filters, and all of a sudden you get a little bloom like that, keep in mind you may have killed off too much bacteria and have started a cycle over again. So immediately test your tank, because you may have ammonia that will kill off some fish. Ask me how I know. And let's go ahead and officially start this. What do you say? I just do that so I can take a big swig of coffee and keep the motor running. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up and the bell. Let YouTube know something good's going on, and that way they'll recommend the channel to other people. And a big shout out to the Cichlid Shack, a sponsor of the channel. Be sure to use the code Cichlid Shack, the code Shack Attack 15 for 15% off on fish orders over $100. And without, that doesn't include shipping, of course. The shipping, he just charges you what he pays for shipping, or you just pay for shipping when it arrives. He doesn't make any money on the shipping, and he does send things overnight. If you're just buying food and meds, power heads, equipment, things like that from the Shack, use Shack Attack 10. You'll get 10% off. So you'll get a discount either way. And let's see here. And for those of you who'd like to support the channel, we'll pay a few bills here. Consider becoming a Patreon, a member of the Garage Gang. And that's a monthly subscription for as little as $3 a month. And you get previews of the upcoming videos. You get behind-the-scene videos that are not public. Also, use the Amazon link to shop on Amazon. If you buy things from my store or from anywhere on Amazon, the channel gets a small percentage credit. Doesn't increase your price at all. And you can pick up mugs and channel swag over at the Teespring store. And that's listed underneath every one of my videos. So there you go. Just had to pay a few bills there. And I do want to acknowledge that we do have some new Patreons that are on this list. I call this the founding Patreons. We're still in that phase where it's anyone who becomes a member of the Garage Gang is a founding member. But Jenny Delgado, Jean, I think it's Tobias, Patrick Maloney, Denny, and so we got some recent Patreon members. Thank you so much, folks. You're very, very appreciated. So, if you caught my my Fishroom update video, you know that it's been very interesting in here. I've had a lot of stuff go on, and behind me here, in the tank behind me, I have the Zonatus, who is being very calm, and since he's been put in solitary confinement, which turned out to not be solitary confinement, because he dug a hole underneath the divider and got to the other side of the tank. And interestingly enough, all he's doing is sort of hanging out with the Placodon. The Placodon was moved into the 55, very much like the way I did with the Taiwan reef. When the Taiwan reef wasn't eating, in this tank, they get intimidated sometimes, and they get so low on the pecking order. I don't know what it is. It just changes them psychologically or something, but they just sort of give up and just stop eating. So I put the Taiwan reef in the 55, and he started to eat. And when he started to really attack his food, I put him back in here, and he's been doing great ever since. No, he's somewhere. He's probably back there somewhere. He's off camera, but you'll see him. He'll show up in a minute. Anyway, so I'm doing the same thing with the Placodon. I put him over there, and so he just kind of hangs out by the filter, and then I put the Vieja Zonatus in there with a divider that I jerry-rigged, a 29-gallon divider, and the Zonatus quickly dug a hole under it. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can really make it out there, but there's a divider there, and the Zonatus goes over, visits the Placodon, and then if you can see that there, but the Zonatus will go over and visit the Placodon, and then go back under his little tunnel back to his side of the tank. It's kind of funny. You see him there, he's digging. And it's interesting the way these South and Central American cichlids dig. They don't dig like the African cichlids will dig exclusively with their mouths, right? They grab big mouths full of sand and move it, and they keep moving it until they get what they want. The Vieja will actually get low on the sand and move his fins really fast, and just spread sand around, and then start digging it with his mouth. It's really interesting how he does it. And but he got underneath that divider real quick, and I thought, he's going to go over there and beat up the Placodon, but he doesn't. He just goes over and says hello, and then goes back over. So it's kind of interesting what's happening there. So never a dull moment. So I had to take him out of the 90 because he was just being a little bit too rough. And then after I put and then what I did is I put the two other Viejas back in the 90, and then that turned into a battle royale. And I posted a couple of videos. I think it's included in the in that Fishroom update at the end, sort of like bonus material for those of you that got to the end of it. And then there was also another like multiple battles sort of started happening between the Nicaraguas and the Viejas, and then now they've calmed down. It's like they got weary of so much going back and forth that now they've calmed down, and it's just like they're just drifting around. You see, I can show you here. I mean, this tank was just like watching a cage fight. was like a cage battle. And now it's just everybody's just sort of chill. The Nicaraguans are still kind of fired up. But, you know, everybody's just sort of hanging out, the lip locking, the circling each other threateningly. All of that seems to be over. Now on the right side there of the tank, and let's see if we come up. There he is on the right side. On the right side on my camera. I'm not sure if you can see it, if it's on the left side on yours, but there's a fish I've been hiding from you, and I'm finally going to show him to you. There he is. Oh, there's a little chase for you, just for the camera, and a lot better than it was 3 days ago. But yeah, that's a Salvini. There's a Salvini in this tank now, a little Salvini. There he is. Absolutely beautiful fish. I've been wanting to put one in there for quite some time. So, go ahead and get this back. And it looks like I missed a super chat there. Let me see. I'm a sick kid. My dad recently passed away last year, and he watched you religiously. I started a cichlid, I guess it's a cichlid tank for him, and have watched all your videos. Thank you, Ben. Wow. Thank you, my friend. And sorry about the loss, and thank you so much for that super chat. And I really have no words. I mean, what can I say? I mean, at any rate, it's really hard to respond to things like that for me. I mean, I can't pretend to imagine what you're feeling about that, but very nice of you to do a super chat. So, hey, Jerry. And KG Cichlids says, I see some damage. Are you talking about the 90-gallon? There is, in the fish that are in that 90-gallon right now, they are recovering from all the battle. There is some lip damage. Some took shots on the side. There's a few little nips in the fins, but I think it's just calming down. They sort of found a pecking order. I have found that some fish, more the haps than the peacocks. Interestingly enough, the peacocks get into these battles where they're not happy until the other fish is dead. It's been my experience. Whereas the haps, it's like once they've established who's on top, it's like it calms down up to the point where somebody wants to challenge the boss. But once there's a boss, it calms down. Now, surprisingly, I mean, if you look at this tank, you would say, well, wait a minute, you know, the Livingstone eye, the eye biter maybe, or maybe the Venusis would be the boss, right? That's who you would imagine, just based on reputation. But interestingly enough, the fish that this guy right here is the one that tends to be on top. The Autopharynx tetrastigma, beautiful fish, absolutely gorgeous fish. One of my favorite all-time cichlids. You know that if you follow the channel. And he seems to be the top dog. You see him right there? He wherever he wants to hang around, he'll hang around, and he will keep everybody else away. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, let's take a look here at today's topic. And what I did is I got a couple things for you. I've got a couple updates on what I've done on the Fishroom recently, including how I was able to clean black decor and make it like new again. I'm going to show you what I mean. And I've got a little bit of a pH situation I'm correcting, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. But before I get into that, I have a special video that I made for today's topic, and I hope you enjoy it. And I find this, I like making these little short videos for you and playing them exclusively during the live stream. It's sort of a video within a video. But let's see here. Here you go. Let me know what you think. Somebody asked me under one of my recent videos the update on the Fishroom and all the drama that was going on with the lip locking and the battles in this tank. They asked why I did it, you know, and it's sort of a legitimate question, like why do I put myself through it? And I guess in some ways, why do I put the fish through it? And I started thinking about it. I mean, well, yeah, why do I do it? Why does anybody keep these kinds of fish? And I guess the answer I came up with is, I came up with several answers, really. And one of them is that there is a challenge. There is a challenge to get a combination of big fish like this to, you know, to actually get along. And when you accomplish it, it's like a big deal. You know, it's like a big deal to get fish to actually that are aggressive by nature to actually coexist and not beat each other up. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, that is a Salvini, little beauty. And so the challenge of it certainly is something. And as you can see here, this tank has calmed down. The non-stop 24/7 circling that these two were doing is now over. They seem to have established some type of a pecking order. And this couple here is still acting up a little bit, you know, the two Nicaragua cichlids. Not quite as crazy as they were, but you have the challenge of it, and you also have the reward of being able to keep like these fish that are just actually pretty remarkable looking. I mean, when you look at the Zonatus, by the way, they now sell a divider. This is a 29-gallon divider that's been jerry-rigged for this 55, and the Zonatus has been digging a hole under it and coming over and visiting the Placodon. Doesn't bother the Placodon, doesn't chase them, doesn't nip them, doesn't do anything. Just goes over there and visits, and then goes back over to his side. But if I can get this guy in the 300-gallon to be part of that South and Central American community that I have in the 90, it would be great to have a fish like this, because he's just a big beauty. And what makes him so aggressive and so difficult to handle is also the same thing that makes them so much fun. They're not really afraid. They interact with you. They don't really have much fear, and you know, they're not real skittish. And like in the case of the African cichlids, it's like a tremendous victory for me to have a tank like this where the fish are this colorful and this interactive with me. Fish of this size and this color that have no real interest in killing each other. And yeah, there's an occasional chase, an occasional nip here and there. But to have finally arrived at a point with a tank full of African cichlids where there is just an occasional chase or a nip, like the one you just saw there with the Autopharynx tetrastigma, but nothing, there isn't that murder that I had going on when I first started to get my tanks established. And I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be a fish that had been killed in the night. So this is like just a real major accomplishment that I'm really, really happy about. And I don't really see this kind of fish. You just don't see it I mean, they're beautiful fish that are not aggressive. Okay, your discus, right? I mean, we can name a lot of them that are beautiful, but you know, big fish that interact like this and have a lot of attitude and really no fear. You know, they have just no fear. They don't fear me one bit. By the way, for those of you who have been following my channel, this sand diver, all of a sudden, and he's not even anywhere near where he's going to be, but all of a sudden he got a bunch of blue speckles all over the top of his body. Not sure if you can make them out, but absolutely gorgeous. Just blew up like overnight. Like one day, you know, I went to bed thinking I wonder how long before he colors up. Next morning, there it is. Look, you see it? See the blue? Just like that. Something triggered. I don't know what it is. Food, water conditions, lighting. Could be a variety of things. So at any rate, why do I keep fish that have a killer instinct? Because that same killer instinct is what makes them so interesting, so interested in us, the fish keeper, and so willing to interact. And it is really a challenge that when conquered, even if the victories are temporary, it's actually very, very rewarding. Wow, look at that. That trout. Trout's going crazy. So what do you think? I mean, why do you keep these? Some of you keep fish that are as aggressive or more aggressive than these. Why do you keep them? You know, go ahead and comment in the chat if you're watching this live, or in the comments under the video. Let me know. Let me know why do you keep fish that are highly aggressive and that at any moment can flip that little switch and they're off to the races, destroying each other. You know my reasons. I like the challenge. I like the interaction. Well, there he is, visiting again. Came over to visit his friend, the Placodon. Who says African cichlids and South Central American cichlids can't get along? So funny the way he digs that hole to come over and visit. At any rate, and you know, I love a peaceful tank, don't get me wrong. You know, I love what's going on here. As I mentioned in that Fishroom update, if I want peace, I'll take a look at this tank here, or the community tank, or the African cichlid tank at this particular point in time. But I think really, for my entire fish keeping career, I'll probably always have some of the fish that are considered on the aggressive side, for the reasons I've stated: the size, the interaction, the lack of squeamishness. Can't wait for that Jack Dempsey to really put on some size. She is a beauty. Thomasita. Used to be Tom, but then we found out that Tom was a female. Now she's Thomasita. Look at the colors on that Nicaragua female. The females are known to have more of that pop, where the males are also beautiful, but they're a little bit on the dull side. Nice patterns in the fins of the male, but the female colors are just spectacular. So those are my reasons. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. There you go. A video just for you. Folks who spend an hour with me on Saturdays, you're very appreciated. And I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, I'm hearing a lot of the similar reasons from you folks. And yeah, that interaction, you know, of that big bulky fish that sort of actually looks at you, and you know they're looking at you. And it's not just this dull sort of terrified look. It's actually, I see you, and if you were my size and in this tank, you know, I would kick your rear, you know. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to keep them, and it doesn't mean that I haven't been at points in my fish keeping life. It doesn't mean that I haven't had moments where I felt exasperation, you know, just frustration, like, oh man. You know, I you know, especially when you lose when you lose a real stunner. You know, you have this beautiful fish and he gets torn to shreds while you're sleeping. And but the cichlid keepers, I think, just know that that's sort of part of the cichlid keeping scenario, and you do your best to stabilize and fix it, but you know that it happens. I mean, there's a guy I follow called I think D Darius on YouTube, and he's got monsters. I mean, monsters. I think he's got a 500-gallon tank, and you know, there's a lot of videos that he's put out that talk about the ups and downs that he's gone through, and you know, he has his moments of peace, like I'm having right now with this African cichlid tank. Fingers crossed. Don't want to jinx it. Let's not talk about it. I mentioned the 300-gallon. The 300-gallon stand was going to be delivered today. I had the space opened up. I even posted a little video on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, ben.o.cichlid on Instagram, and you can get some behind-the-scenes videos there. But I started thinking about the stand. Was a stand that I mean, the folks over at Glass Cages are really fair with me. They really take care of me, and they let me wander through the warehouse, and so I found a stand that would work. It wasn't made for the 300. It was made for another tank that was a little bit deeper, a little bit further from front to back, and I started thinking about it. I said, you know, this stand is going to have this extra room on the back, and what it means is that the back part of the aquarium is going to be supported by the top piece of the stand, not by the frame. It'll be supported by the frame on the sides, but not on the back. And ideally, the aquarium should be supported on four sides by the strongest part of the stand. And so I called up, I sent a text over to Joe over at Glass Cages, and he thought about it. We talked about it, and we finally decided, okay, you know what? We're going to go ahead and just build a custom stand for that tank that is going to give it support on you know, from the frame on the high pressure points of the stand. So that's where that's at. So we're going to get that stand in, and then from there, I'm going to go ahead and do. Now I have to put off my electrician, because I had the electrician set up to come in a week to go ahead and start to do some of the adding a few, you know, adding some more amps to the fuse box to be able to run these extra tanks. But I wanted to get the tanks stand situated so I know where to put the plugs and all that sort of thing. So that's off. That's been put off a little bit. But on a project like that, a 300-gallon project, I really want to do it right. I want to get it exactly the way it should be. I don't want to really feel a little compromised in some area. I'm sure that stand probably would have worked. It's a very heavy duty stand, but I just don't want to have a tension that could perhaps get a hairline crack, and then that turns into something else. And imagine a 300-gallon tank tipping over. I mean, that would be disaster, right? So we decided to go ahead and build a stand. So I've been having a little bit for some reason the pH in this tank is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be, and let me get your take on this. I mean, we're all learning from each other. This substrate is aragonite, which is I understand adds a lot of minerals. It's good for pH, and I don't want to artificially. I don't want to use like buffering, agents that you have to add with each water change, and you're guessing how much to add and not. I didn't want to do that, so I went over to the my local fish store, the Aquatic Critter, and I'm buying these bags for $3. You get this bag of a bag of crushed coral. Now, crushed coral is great because it really super mineralizes the water. It releases a tremendous amount of calcium and magnesium. Someone told me that eventually it could actually exhaust itself, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but I don't know if I can show it to you without spilling it on the. It's basically just white. Just white, looks like little rocks, but it's super calcium, magnesium rich. And, for $3, I mean, crushed coral is not cheap. It's pretty expensive. So for $3, that's a good deal. So I'm going to probably add that to the sump. Just put it in a mesh, like a fine mesh, not super fine because the particles are a pretty good size. So it's not like putting in activated carbon where you have to use super fine mesh. But I can use but I'll put it in a mesh bag, and I'll drop it into the sump, and I'll put it in the section of the sump where the water cascades down, so it'll really kind of stir it up. And really get some good carbon, get some good magnesium and calcium going, and hopefully I can very gradually start to ease up the pH, just a little bit, and so you tell me, what do you think? What do you think? How have you had to raise the pH in your tank, and what did you do? What did you do to do that? Did you use buffers, and how did those buffers work for you? I mean, I've been reluctant to use buffers only because I've read different reviews, and I've read that it's almost impossible to really kind of keep it just right. I've read things on using your baking sodas or things of this nature. There's other ways you can go with it, but anyway, anything you want to share on how you've raised pH, let me know in the comments. Now, I want to share something else with you today that I did, and if you notice this tank here, this is different decor. That's a different plant there. This one here, that's a different plant than the one that was in there before. It's from Elite Cichlids, who unfortunately is no longer in business because of a death in the family, but which was a loss to the entire cichlid community for sure. And the plants that are back here, these here, those are plants that were in the 55 that's over my shoulder here. So the plants that were in there previously had become very brown and in some cases little bits of black. And so what if you try and scrub it, you can scrub forever, and it just doesn't seem to impact it. So the only thing that I found to work is I fill up a 5-gallon bucket with water, with just tap water and about a half a cup of bleach, and then I soak the plants for 24 hours. So this plant was very had lots of black on it, and black and brown. So you can look at it now. And you can do that with decor. You can do it with anything like that. And this one was in real bad shape. I'd given up scrubbing it. But look at it now. So these are the plants that were in the 210. So they spent one night in a bleach and water solution. And then the next here's another look at this one. This one was in really bad shape too. It's like new. This plant was called Pearl. It was the last plant Elite Cichlids sold, and it was called Pearl on their website in honor of the mom who ran the show and passed away, named Pearl. And so kind of a special plant. And so at any rate, the 24 hours in half a cup of bleach in a 5-gallon bucket, and then I rinse the heck out of them the next day with fresh water, and scrub any remaining stains on the plants. You can use a here, I'll show you. Give me a second. Yeah, something like this, like a little dish scrubber. And pick these up for like a couple bucks, I think. Anyway, you just scrub off what's remaining, the brown, the black, and then an idea I borrowed from the way that you recharge Purigen. Then I fill up the bucket again with water, and I put some conditioner in there. In my case, some Fritz Complete, and I let the plants sit and soak in a Fritz Complete water solution for 24 hours. Then I pull them out again the next day, rinse the heck out of them, and then they're good to go. They can go right into your aquarium, no worries whatsoever about having used bleach. So that works, and you can do that with your decor. Some decor you got to watch out. It might react to the bleach. It might discolor. I mean, again, you just got to kind of do your research on it. If you're not sure, put a little bit of diluted bleach in a part of the decor that doesn't show, and just see how it reacts. See if it discolors, and if it does, then don't use that technique. You can also use hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide will also work, and some people like the hydrogen peroxide. It can be they consider it a little bit more safe. Hydrogen peroxide, by the way, is very good if you're experiencing black or bearded algae. Pulling things out and putting them in a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution is really good for bearded or black algae. Google it. All right, get the right dilution amount, because you dilute the hydrogen peroxide. It's very highly diluted, and there's a certain steps you follow, but you can get rid of the black algae, which is really hard to get off of things, using hydrogen peroxide. I imagine bleach would work too, but hydrogen peroxide is a very common method, and it's safe. It's safe. And Tabarak is into the hydrogen peroxide method. And Luis Ferreira, Ben, do you miss your old home and your old tank setups? I miss the large pool we used to have. We had a saltwater pool, which was I miss that. I'll admit, we had a huge backyard that the Beagles loved. It was like a park, and I miss that. I don't miss the setup. This setup here, having everything in my garage out of the way. I mean, I would do a live stream. I'd have to set everything up and then tear everything down and put it away because it was in the bedroom. And now I leave stuff set up. I I would never be able to have this many tanks back at that house in California. And I've got the 300 coming. I'm going to be building a rack where I can put some of my smaller projects like my betta and my planted tanks and my community tank. So I'm going to build a rack for that. And then I could never have all this going on in California. So yes and no. Would I go back to California? No. No, I love living in Tennessee. I actually love the fact that we have snow today. It's beautiful. I've never had that growing up, right? I spent 63 years in California. Never had, it just wasn't something. I'd go to the snow and I'd come back, right? But I might go back to visit just to go to the beaches. But it just depends. I mean, it just depends how things are going there. If the homeless situation has been, gotten under control. My last long trip to a beach was in north of San Diego, and it was very unpleasant. The number of homeless people that kept approaching us over and over and over again, no matter where we went. So it's not a good scene there, and I'll always consider it my home state. But I love living here in Nashville. So there you go, a long answer. So let's take a look at what you have to say here. I'm going to take a look at your comments, and if you have any questions about the cleaning of the plants and stuff, do let me know. Josh, Cunningham Cichlids, are you going to Aquaticon Knoxville in April? I'd like to. I just got to see. I got to check on the schedule. I've got kids that are coming in from different parts of the country, and in one case, the world. And so I've just got to check that schedule. But I think it'd be kind of fun to do something in Tennessee. And even though Orlando was kind of relatively close, but yeah, that'd be good. Are you going to be there, Josh? And it was nice. It was nice bumping into you again over at Aquashella. So I'm going to take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what you've got going on. And if I missed any super chats, thank you to those of you who are super chatting. Super chatting is a way to throw a little money onto the stage. And I appreciate that. Every little bit helps. And Tabarak Aquatics, the aggressive cichlids have so much personality. Even the monster fish have a lot of personality. I have several fish that will eat from my hand and just play with me through the glass. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day. They're like water pups. We call them water pups. They follow you around. They really engage. I mean, they really look at you, and it's very, very cool. Kind of hard to get that with nanofish. It just doesn't happen with nanofish. And it makes me consider getting a. And I went to the Aquatic Critter the other day, and they had some beautiful, beautiful little tiger Oscars. They were just so cute. And man, oh man, I was like this close to pulling the trigger on a little tiger Oscar, and I was like, oh, can I? Should I? Where would he go? I put him in the 300. Would he blend in eventually? I mean, I'm growing out the green tears. I've got a little Jack Dempsey, so relatively speaking, and the chocolates are small. So I don't know. Chocolate cichlids have a lot of growing to do, and so anyway. And I've heard Oscars like that. They're just big water pups. And anyway, very close to pulling the trigger on that little red. Just the red Oscars are gorgeous. I think they're my favorite next to the albino. Albino Oscars are also very, very pretty. And Joe, yes, that trout is becoming one of my absolute. I mean, they're all my favorites, but I mean the trout is just sort of, look at him. It's beautiful. He's got that little bit of a tan running through his body, a tan color, just gorgeous. Love him. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And yeah, watching him color up, it's amazing. I just love that. Like coming down and seeing the the blue specks on that sand diver was like, whoa, it's like eureka, kind of a eureka moment. Yeah, Michael Lotanero, I hope I pronounced that right. I am looking forward to them getting the rest of that body, coloration, where they get almost like a metallic. They get kind of a metallic blue mixed with that black, and it's just, and there's no two of them the same. I mean, a Taiwan reef or a Johnson eye, or a lot of these fish are eye biters. I mean, there are spectacular specimens, but they're very, very similar to each other. It's hard to find two sand divers they're just never the same. Each one is kind of unique, and just an amazing fish. And if you've ever seen one actually dive in the sand, it's crazy. They go all the way in, and just their eye sticks out. And sometimes, one of their fins will be, kind of moving, and one eye is looking at you. I mean, it's hilarious if you see them go in the sand. Jerry, that's a good question. Do you mess with the tank when you hit a point of when it's finally peaceful? I mean, that's a good question. There's some other fish that I want. Do I risk it? Do I risk messing up the chemistry? When I added the Taiwan reef back in, it was peaceful. It was easy. Turned off the lights, added him in the dark, kept an eye on things. And when the lights came back on, it was like he was always there. So, but I don't know if I added something else. I don't know. It's a good question. There are other fish I want, and by a lot of cichlid keeper standards, this is a very lightly stocked tank. There are people out there that with a 210 gallon, they'll put 50 fish. They'll have 40, 50 fish in it. So this is a very lightly stocked tank by most African cichlid standards. So I don't know. I've got a lot of things going around, and we'll see. We'll see what I run into, and what kind of fish that sometimes James will get something that's a little bit spectacular. He sent me a video of a unique kind of bucochromis that he has, and it's a beautiful fish. So we'll see. Blind Fish Keeper, I love the interaction with the big fish myself as well. They just have a little more going on upstairs. Not to knock the community fish, which I love just as much, but that's why I keep the big guys. Yeah, I mean, it's never a knock on the other fish. It's just, and I have a community tank full of embers and lemons and rummy nose, and I love that tank too for different reasons. And Lenny Maderos, if you look at some of my older videos, Lenny, you'll see that I had I think they call them, I think they're the one I had, I think they're calling them paratilapias now. A paratilapia polini, starry night. Gorgeous fish. Love that fish. And I made a mistake, and I killed that fish, and with my mistake. Very difficult situation. Was a very difficult situation for me. And but I love that fish. They are I believe extinct in Madagascar, where they originate from. They're no longer in the lake, so they're only in the hobby. So it's a kind of a very special fish, and I felt very bad. I had a spectacular one. I had one that was absolutely gorgeous, and I made a fatal mistake, and it cost me that and a couple other fish that I had that were awesome fish. So anyway, if you can get a hold of one, get a hold of one. Some people put them with South American, some people put them with African cichlids. I imagine they must have a wide tolerance for water hardness and pH and KH. Solar King Ronnie, I've lost count of killed fish. Solar King, if you and I got together and just had an honest let's just honestly look back at the fish we've had. It's African cichlid keepers have, there's a high body count. I mean, it whether you're talking, and you're not talking just sickness, you're talking aggression issues, and it sort of comes with the fish. I hate to say that, and no matter how hard you try and you put together combinations that seem right, but again, like I said in that short video, when you finally hit that point where you've got some peace, it's awesome. And let's see here. Yeah, Amber Key, that's been my experience too. They, for some reason, I don't know why, the peacocks just lose their mind. Hey, Brian, thank you for that. I appreciate that super chat. Rahul Sanchez, Rahul, am I pronouncing that right? 34 peacocks and haps in my 125. I'd like to get 40 in there. That's a well-stocked tank. Bratface, how do you maintain the wide range of pH? Well, it's a it's an ongoing thing. You're tweaking it. You're measuring. I do use the aquarium co-op strips, and I measure pH along with other things. I'd say maybe once a month, and I use things that help with water hardness with pH, like aragonite substrates in the African cichlid tanks, whereas in the other tanks, I'll not use that. I'll use regular sand. Now, just out of necessity, I had to put the Vieja Zonatus in what was originally an African cichlid tank. So that Vieja Zonatus is in a tank that has an aragonite substrate. I put I put some almond leaves, I put a piece of wood in there, but then I brought over the Placodon from the African cichlid tank. So now I'm sort of in a juggling act in this tank behind me, because I've got South American, Central American, and I've got an African cichlid in there. So I'm just hoping that they have a wide enough tolerance and it's going to be okay for them. So, but you're tweaking. And I do like to work slowly on things like pH, and that's why I'm adding a little bit more crushed coral, some fresh crushed coral. Someone told me that the crushed coral and aragonite over time can start to exhaust the rate at which it's releasing minerals into the tank. And so sometimes that might need to get refreshed, which is why I've got this bag of crushed coral that I'm going to be rinsing and putting into the sump under this tank, and in the hope that it will tweak up the pH a little bit. And but I'm not going to be using, I don't think, any buffering agents. I even came up with a video on it years ago called "Stop Chasing pH," and because I'd heard stories of people adding products, and for some reason they jolted the pH too much. And that's very, very hard on a fish, harder than perhaps living maybe a half, like a 0.1 outside of the ideal range, right? All right, let's see what else you got to say here. Fish Ranch House. Love that name, Fish Ranch House. Have you folks seen the new property that John Hudson is getting? He's going to have like a fish barn, It's very cool, actually. C for C Apologetics. Interesting name. Looking to upgrade my 150 to a 200-gallon tank for my peacocks and haps. Where is the best place to find a good tank stand combo? Well, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Glass Cages. Check out, call Joe at Glass Cages. Tell him that Ben sent you, Ben Ochart sent you, and that you want to be taken care of, and he'll take good care of you. Joe at Glass Cages. Glass Cages is in Dixon, Tennessee. They custom make tanks, and they make them like they make them like battleships. These tanks have braces on the bottom that brace all the way around the bottom, and they have corner braces that are put into the corners after the tanks have dried. They put corner braces in, and then those. So what you have is you end up with many, many more square inches of silicone, of adhesive. Now, when you think about cichlids, cichlid keepers usually do large water changes. So they're constantly reducing the pressure, increasing the pressure, reducing the pressure, increasing the pressure on the seams of the tank. You're stretching, expanding, contracting, expanding and contracting. So you're putting wear on the adhesives far greater than somebody who sets up a planted tank and leaves it alone and tops it off once a month. So more square inches of adhesive is a big advantage. Now, they're not the only one in the world that does that, okay, in all fairness. But check them out and give them a call. Glass Cages. You will not go wrong. I have been very happy with these tanks, very happy, and happy with the interaction I've had with Glass Cages. Robert Johnson, do you plan on getting clown loaches again? Man, I love clown loaches, and I miss my loaches. I had them for years in an African cichlid tank. They were called Los Tres Amigos. They used to stack on top of each other like books. They would just lay on top of each other. It was hilarious. Half the time, one of them would be on his side. You'd think he was dead. And anyway, they were just so much fun. And they have these barbs on the sides that come out. And so the cichlids, the African cichlids, leave them alone because and they get very big. And people would say, well, gee, you've got those, you've got them in a 60-gallon. And then I'd hear comments, you got them in 100, that's too small. But I'll tell you something, they take years and years to get large. Years and years. And yeah, they do. They get massive, massive. But you're talking 15 years, to get one like. So I had these for 4 years in there, and they were, I loved them. They were beautiful. Amber Key, thank you so much. Thank you for the information. Totally enjoy all the fish people on this chat. We're always learning. And I'll say it again. I've said it before. You folks that show up at these live streams, you are the best in the community, the best in the community. I sit in other live chats, and I see some of the stuff that gets said sometimes, and it's not always nice. And we have a very, very good community here. I thank my moderators for helping to keep it that way. GP, John, KG, who am I missing? Jerry, right? I mean, you folks all do a great job moderating. And anyway, it's just a great, helpful group. It really adheres to the always be learning. Not only do you get from me, I get from you, and you get from each other, on these chats. And I really love seeing it. I love reading it afterwards. And I thank you for that. Thank you for that super chat. Very appreciated. So I think we're at the hour mark. And if I missed anything here, and if I didn't scream out your name, and if I didn't answer your question, or I'm sorry. I don't get to all of them all the time, and I just want to say that it doesn't mean that I have something personally against you. That's not. It's not the case. All right. So, Terry Time. Thank you, Terry Time. I appreciate that. I love the little hippo as well. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Solar King Ronnie, thank you. Thank you for that. And, yep, you are appreciated, my friend. And I think, what do we got? I show 142 people on the live stream. Is that true? Is that true? I haven't been looking at the stat as we go along. So stay tuned for more updates on the 300. I'm going to be doing some maintenance on the sump before I add the crushed coral to help with the pH. So watch for that. That'll be on a video. And also watch for a video I'm trying to put together on a comparison that I did between Petco and a local fish store. And I'm attacking the idea, or at least exploring the idea, that is it really true that your local fish stores are really that less expensive than your big box, or more expensive than your big box stores? The pluses and minuses of shopping at each one. So watch for that video. I'm hoping to have that one out tomorrow. I have like 100 clips that I have to sort of get in order and edit of all the different footage I took, looking at products, looking at fish from different locations. Okay, so watch for that. And with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and call this one a wrap. Thank you, everybody. Oh, next Saturday, there will be no live stream. I'm going to be out of town, spending a little time with my wife. We're going to go down what is called the Natchez Trace, beautiful road that runs just south of my house, runs all the way to Mississippi. So we're going to run over to the Natchez Trace and spend a little time together. So no live stream this coming Saturday, but maybe, what do you think about a live stream during the week? Maybe one in the afternoon or the evening during the week, just to have one during the week. What do you think? You think we should do a live stream during the week? Because where we're going, there's no Wi-Fi, or else I'd try it from the hotel. But we're going to be in the middle of nowhere, and that's by design. We're going to be off the grid for a few days. But if you'd like a live stream during the week, tell me in the chat, and maybe we'll do one during the week. If so, let me know what day would work good, work best for you. And hey, Josh, thank you, my friend. You are appreciated, and I thank you for that. So let me know your ideas on that, and with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this stream up. Thank you, my friends. You are the best, and when I say you rock, I mean it. You rock. Thank you very much.